Welcome to Middle Fingers Up, the show where we hold our heads high and our middle fingers higher. I'm your host, Kieran McKay. Today I have the pleasure of welcoming back Meena Natt. I know our listeners who started this journey with MFU many episodes ago will remember this name because did I ever receive feedback after episode 6, the day I befriended my anxiety? That was a big one. That was another really big one. Lots of downloads, lots of listens, and lots of feedback from people. So welcome, bud. I'm so glad you're back today as a co-pilot. We're going to run this show together today.
Thank you. It's nice to be back.
Yeah, today you're not sitting in the studio, but I'm happy that we can see each other. You're sitting in your little cute office back home, right?
Yes,
out in
it's
BC.
comfortable. I can see you, so that's nice.
Yeah, it is nice. How you doing tonight? What's going on?
Oh, I'm doing good.
Yeah.
It's a Sunday, so, I had a really fun weekend and went salsa dancing Friday.
Oh, you're such a big fan of salsa. You love it. You've always loved that, hey?
I love dancing. You just feel like nothing matters. Like you just dance the night away, and I haven't gone salsa dancing for years.
Yeah. So this is funny because we were talking about how literally I feel like it's only our South Asian community that gets together with friends, and sometimes it doesn't even matter if it's a bunch of dudes getting together or if it's a bunch of women getting together, but always the dance floor happens in the living room. You push the cushions and the ottomans aside and you just start dancing in circles, right? Like, who else does that? Like, we grew up doing that all the friggin' time, and now I look back and guess what? Sometimes I dance by myself in the living room.
I have an iPhone, the watch, and like you can connect with other people, like to see if they've finished a workout or whatnot. So to get my steps in, I'll do if I need 10 more minutes of exercise to close my rings, I'll dance in the living room.
Yeah. And 2000s jams?
Oh, I mix it up. I'll do 2000s. I'll do Punjabi for sure. And then I'll get messages from people like, "Hey, where are you dancing?" No, that was one text from my sister-in-law.
She just had FOMO. She was probably like, "Why am I not dancing with you on Monday afternoon?"
She did. She said that. She's like, she has 3 girls, and she's like, "Oh, we would come over next time." But it was literally a Wednesday evening.
I love it. Oh man, I love it. I love it. Well, I'm glad you got your dance on this weekend. So that's awesome. So hey, listen.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to go back because we got right into the dancing business, which was important to mention. I wanted to start actually with a thank you because, as I mentioned in the intro, your episode was a kind of a big deal. It was sort of an impromptu, right? You and I sort of planned it together. You were down for a visit. We were just starting this thing last November. We recorded it, and the feedback that we received, I know I told you some of the things, but I just want to mention again because I think we always appreciate feedback. It helps us decide what people want to listen to, what people want to be part of. And people, first of all, love your voice.
No way.
You have such a soothing voice. Yeah, so much feedback about your voice. And also, I just remember one particular listener was sitting in Starbucks having coffee or something and listening to the episode and just messages me and says, "Oh my God, listening to Meena speak about her experiences just brought tears to my eyes. I'm sitting here bawling." And I remember I messaged you and you're like, is this person okay? Did we check in on them? And I'm like, yes, we did. You're so sweet. Yeah. But they just really connected, and so many people kept messaging saying they felt so validated and connected to listening to the way you talked about anxiety and some of the childhood experiences you were making sense of as you were going through your 20s and 30s and then entering your 40s. So I just want to say thank you so much, because that's sort of what we're trying to accomplish here, is having role models like you, people that are so inspiring, how you talk, how you care to come on and share your story, your journey, so that maybe one person out there will feel less isolated, right? And more connected. You yourself have even messaged about people like Summit and people that have done some of these episodes that even you yourself who's been on there is like, oh my God, this person that spoke like this just gave me so much hope. So it's a really cool thing to have that kind of feedback. It's like, this dialogue that I feel like it's getting stronger, that conversation. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. That's great. I remember just speaking honestly. It took a very long time, but I was once in those people's shoes. Like they're not able to talk to people, or they think fear of what people are going to say or judge or whatnot, or think of them. I just, when they say you speak your truth, open up doors for other people to like speak their truth, because they're like, that's what I went through. That's exactly what I felt.
Yeah.
And someone saying it out loud. You definitely have to be, it has to be the right time, I think.
I think that's just it, right? That competition or comparing ourselves to others, especially when you're seeing people around you maybe growing in certain parts of life and moving forward in certain ways that maybe we ourselves aren't. I think sometimes it ends up being about this competition versus, wait a minute, I'm going to grow at my own pace. And it might take me a little longer to get there in some ways, but eventually it'll work out because it's really about me focusing on my own journey, right?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's just that that outward, we're looking so outward, that externalizing, like, what do you think about me? What do you want that makes you happy, that might make me happy? And it unfortunately gets in the way of us and figuring out, who are we? What do we want? What do we need? And I think that shows up in our late 30s, 40s. Hopefully we have it figured out by our 50s, right? Where we're like, oh, wait a minute, I got to deal with some of this stuff because it keeps coming up.
And we compare ourselves, like you said, other people and where they are in their life. It's one thing I've learned. It took me a long time, but you just do yourself such a disservice when you're comparing yourself to another human being. Your experiences in life are completely different than theirs.
Yeah.
They've walked a different path, and you have too. But I think the pressure, like in society, because like you're supposed to be at a certain point in your 30s and 40s, typical what society would call normal. You go to school, you find someone, you get married, you have a child.
Yeah.
It's not like that for everybody.
Yeah. And like, that's also such an old way of thinking and being too. I think that's one way of being in the world and one way of living your life. I don't think as I'm getting older, I'm seeing more doors opening and avenues and maybe listening to more conversations that so many people are having. And that's just one way of being. You can find happiness in other ways, maybe with your job. People are married to their job, and maybe for some people it's traveling, and for some people it's never getting married and having adventures with other people. Like, there's all sorts of things that I think sometimes we get locked in and we think this is the way it's supposed to be. And but the thing is, we did it because someone told us that that's the way it's supposed to be, and we wanted to be like our cousins and our friends and our family and everyone else. And the Bollywood movies didn't help either, right?
What?
Everybody wants to have Shah Rukh Khan wisp them off their feet. I found mine.
You liked that guy so much growing up. I remember he came here for a concert. We were so young. And you went, and you were just such a Shah Rukh Khan fan.
Dude, you don't even know I met him when I was 14. So that was like amazing for everyone, especially me. But yeah, I loved him. He was so funny. You look back now, you're like, very interesting choice in crushes.
Out of all of the Bollywood actors.
We're just like, yeah, exactly. Like, well, who would be your crush then at that time? Which Bollywood actor was better than Shah Rukh Khan? Tell me right now.
I really like this one guy who could play so many different roles. My mind's gonna go blank. What's his name? Sing is King.
You're talking about, okay, Akshay Kumar?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Is that who did Sing is King?
Yes.
Yeah, Akshay Kumar. Isn't he married to an actress still? Bollywood actress?
I think so. He's still married.
Yeah, see? So all these people, all these Bollywood stars make us think that we got to get married, right? We got to be a certain way.
Yeah, and then the love story folds. Oh, you're like dancing in the rain. It's nothing like that.
Did you get your fair share of dancing in the rain?
I love dancing in the rain. I usually don't do that. They're out there. Bollywood movies are out there. Their stories are out there. Same thing like with Christmas movies, love stories that come on during Christmas. Like really, nowadays you're really not gonna bump into someone at the same coffee shop every day and
and keep falling in love. But there's this ultimate barrier that keeps getting in the way that won't allow you to be together, but you find your way around the obstacle because the Christmas Town Village helps you guys fall in love at the skating rink or something, right? Like every time at the nail salon, I'm like, this movie again. Here we go. It's the same movie, different actors,
But we love it. We'll still watch it.
We do, because we like romance, rom-coms. Everyone loves rom-coms.
Yeah.
Anyone that says they don't, they're lying.
Liars.
What's your favorite romantic comedy?
Oh, the old ones like You've Got Mail, Sleepless in Seattle.
Waiting to Exhale.
Oh yes, Waiting to Exhale.
Remember we had so much fun watching that movie?
Oh yeah, I was such a Brandy fan too. Yes. Like that soundtrack for that movie had a lot of Brandy in it.
And Whitney, and some Whitney too in there.
I don't know. Romance is like romantic movies isn't the go-to for me. I like drama or.
Of course, Meena likes drama.
like hospital doctor nurses shows.
Oh, you like ER kind of. Did you watch Grey's Anatomy then?
Yes, I watch Grey's Anatomy. Funny thing is, my nieces also laugh at this. I didn't like any of the characters in Grey's Anatomy. I found them all so annoying, but I love the show. Yeah. I do have a show that I watch. It's my guilty pleasure.
Oh, please tell us.
Because I do not like reality shows. Like I don't think I've ever been into a reality show. Okay.
Well, maybe you haven't found the right one yet.
Then I watched Love is Blind.
Oh, I've heard about this. Yes, this is a popular one.
And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is how people get hooked. It is my guilty pleasure. I love that show.
Okay, so what about Love is Blind do you love? Like why? You don't like reality shows, so why that one?
I just found it interesting. They're sitting in their pod. They're dating each other in pods, like 2 different pods, right? So there's, say, 10 girls, 10 guys.
Yeah.
You don't have any idea what they look like. You don't know their height, their race. You know their voice. That's it, right? Yeah. So you take turns dating everybody in the pods. And it's like a real date. They dress up. They have beach themes and everything. So anyways, you end up choosing a partner. And, it's interesting because some people have like connections with 2 different people, 3 different people. But it's all based on the emotional connection. Mm-hmm. You don't know what color their hair is, nothing. Then what you have to do actually is you have to pick one and the guy has to propose. And then they do the reveal.
What if the guy doesn't want to propose?
You have to. That's the show. If you
okay. So now we're like being forced. This sounds like arranged marriage to me, man.
No, you're able to leave the show at any time.
Oh, okay.
There was a few left the show, but anyways,
people do that then.
This last season, people did. Yeah. They the show. They didn't like what was going on. But the reveal is fun. So the doors open at the same time. You get to see who you picked and said yes to. The woman has said yes to this person already. Yeah. And the way they like look at each other, and it's fun to see if they're physically attracted to each other. Right. Right. And then they go to an island for 2 weeks, and then they go back to real life. That's where it gets interesting, where you have to live with them, and then you have to meet each other's families. And then at the very end, they go through with the wedding. And at the very end, you either say, I do or I don't.
Oh, my God. After all that?
Yeah. And
that's a nightmare, dude.
I'm hooked.
You're hooked. Would you do that? Would you go on a show and do that?
I would.
Yeah?
It's interesting. They're trying to see if love is blind. Because we do judge people at the top, like right from the beginning, their looks, right? Yep. We look See, I'm tall, so like I'll look to see like, is this person taller than me?
Right.
Person the nicest person in the world.
Yeah.
You look at those things, you don't get to know them
Mm-hmm.
versus you're just talking to each other, seeing if there's a connection.
Yeah. Do you think that's been lost over the years?
It's hard. It's interesting. Like obviously, you know, because you're my best friend. I'm like in the dating game, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in my 40s,
Mm-hmm.
and it's interesting. I find it interesting meeting different people.
Yeah.
Getting to know them, you know, but the way that people are meeting is not the way that it is used to. Like, you know, all my friends are married and have kids, so if I want to spend time with them, I like to have their kids there. Like, it's like I invite kids and I like to spend time with all of them, so I don't have too many single friends I can go out with.
Yeah.
But I'm like such a dork that way. If I do go out, I don't know how to talk to men. You know, so that's not a way I'm gonna meet someone.
So you're not gonna be the one that's gonna go up to someone out in public and say, "Oh, hey, how are you?"
No.
Like the way you looked at me, it just got the dirtiest look from you right now. Like, excuse me. Well, I mean, hey, that's fair. Like, yeah, I think. Why though? Can I ask? Why is it that you wouldn't do that?
It's conditioning from growing up with four brothers who, sorry, I love them, but they were annoying. Like,
yeah, they could date. Like, were the rules different for them?
yeah, no guy could look at me. I couldn't talk to anybody. They were so strict, and yeah, they were able to date and have girlfriends and stuff. So, going out in my 20s, I would always be looking over my shoulder because one of them would always pop up at the same place I'm at.
Coincidence.
Was it though?
Small world, you know?
Was it? So maybe from then still, but I don't know. I'm traditional. Like, I feel like, I guess you can give a guy some signs, which I don't even know how to do.
Okay, so like, let's say there was a sign. What would you think the sign would be that you would? Let's say I'm a guy at the bar and you like me. Now give me a sign that you're interested.
Well, not like the movies where you act like, okay.
Not getting any signs from you so far.
Okay, so
give me one reason to not pick up the chick behind you right now.
Okay, so it's not like you bump into someone and accidentally drop all your books and stuff and then...
Do you carry your books to bars? Maybe that's the problem, first of all. You can't bring your school books to bars, Meena.
No, coffee shops.
Oh.
Coffee shops.
Coffee shops. Yeah, now you're trying to have a Hallmark. See, this is what happens. Bollywood, Hallmark, same thing. Trying to make you think that you got to go to the coffee shop. So yeah, so you go to the coffee shop and you're trying to get a scone and you see this hot guy.
I can have my peppermint tea.
Yeah, oh my god. With her books and peppermint tea. Oh my god, jeez.
So from what I've learned, making eye contact. I can imagine how hard it is for men to approach women. So like making eye contact, like giving him a signal where letting him know that if you did approach, I'm not going to reject you. So maybe you lock eyes and you give them a smile. That opens up like, hey, like body language, right?
Yeah.
I'm learning is a lot. Like you can have your back towards someone or you can just...
Oh, wow. Look at this. Look at this first grade hair flip we just got, ladies and gentlemen. Man, I wish we got to get to video soon. Producers, we got to do video.
Hey, I'm no expert in this. So I'm just like letting you know how hard it is out there. So now it's all on like apps and stuff.
I know. So how do you flip your hair on a fucking app now, right?
You don't. You're in your pajamas and you're swiping through.
Everyone's in their fucking pajamas on these dating apps, acting like they're in sexy clothes at a bar. It's hard though. I hear from other single friends too, like it's just not what it used to be. The dating rules have changed so much. So it's hard, I'm hearing, as you're saying too, to like keep up with people and their expectations or your own expectations.
I have found it hard, but then something's changed recently. I'm having a lot of fun with it. So that feels good. And then I just tell myself, like at this age, basically, you could meet somebody that you really connect with and they're a really good person, whatever, but you want different things, right? In your life. Versus people in their 20s, they're like, they have a fresh, clean slate, right? Like they don't, they might not be divorced or have kids yet, so they're starting fresh. But 40s is much different.
Yeah.
You're meeting people who are most likely divorced or they have kids. So just navigating different situations like that and figuring out what you want, right? That's like, my experience is better because I did not know what I wanted. Yeah. Do I want to have children? Do I not want to have children? I think anybody who knows me, I've never started out that way. Yeah. Like I wanted a football team. In high school, I told people I would have a football team. Yeah. But the last few years, I had to really think about this. I don't want to rush into a relationship to have a baby. I don't want to do it myself. So I think the experience with dating was not that great when I was confused myself. Now I'm more clear. Mm-hmm. I'm able to pinpoint like, okay, yeah, this is what you want. Sorry, like this is not what I want. Good luck. And
you make a really good point. You're right. Because we talked about this a few minutes ago too. We often will flip to external. So it's not me, it's the people on these dating sites that I keep coming across. And you make a really good point. It's also like flip it back internal and look at what do you want, what is for you, instead of I don't want this. I don't, when you go to a restaurant, you look at a menu, what you don't want to eat. And it's hard to figure out sometimes, but what am I feeling like? So I hear what you're saying. Like now you're focusing on, okay, like what's important to me? What are my values? What do I want? And now it's like more clear to you as you're meeting people and whatnot. So that's probably why you're having fun.
It is fun.
Because you know what you can rely on, which is you and what you want, versus putting all these hopes on something that you don't have to put pressure on for.
Yeah, it's not fun when you're putting pressure on yourself or the other person. So yeah, it has been a lot more fun.
Good. That's what dating in the 20s is like, don't you think? Not having that kind of pressure.
Yeah. And feels like, I don't know, just feels like it's a good time,
Yeah, I hear you.
Yes, and in the meantime, I'm learning those signs of how to let someone know you're interested in.
Wow. You still haven't shown me your moves yet.
No, the eye contact, the smiling.
Can you show me how you make eye contact? Because your eyes have a presence. Well, buddy, if anything, you could come back every week and do a segment updating us how your body language is growing as you're re-entering your dating field now.
Yes.
Yeah, good body language. I'm glad to hear, though, the most important thing out of this whole thing is you're figuring out what you want or need, which is really interesting because we should stop for a second and do our middle fingers up.
Okay.
And then after that, you kind of presented homework for each other, right? Your homework for us to record today was lessons learned in life that we could share with each other. So we're going to do that today. We're going to share. We haven't looked at each other's lists, so I'm kind of curious to see if we have any similar things that overlap, or if we have very different life lessons learned. That'll be cool to go over. So let's stop for a second and do our middle fingers up. What did you bring today? What are you putting your middle fingers up to? Last time you put your middle fingers up to IBS, and yes. I didn't mention this, but lots of feedback came about IBS.
Oh, really?
Yes, and people agreed with a link to anxiety and shared stories about that. They understood. They got it. Good work.
I'm so glad because listening to that episode, I did re-listen to it this week. And I'm glad that it helped people. It helped me so much.
Yeah.
Because I mentioned on that episode that I never told anybody about it. And when you can't tell somebody about something that you're going through, it causes you more stress. So, yeah, I just want to thank everybody for listening and giving their feedback because it helped me as much as it helped others.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm sure people will appreciate hearing that from you. Like I know we're going to do your middle fingers up, but just going back to the IBS thing, you talking about that led to a guest coming on to talk about their journey with colitis And so it's like amazing how one guest story can lead to a door opening for another guest who wants to come on and inspire. And it's a really nice little chain reaction that's going on. So I wanted to give you a chance too to talk about if you had any feedback that you received. So anything else that you got from that episode?
I did have a high school friend call.
Yeah.
It was not right away. I guess the episode got, passed around with a few of our high school friends. And he called me. This was maybe like earlier this year, I would say 4 months ago. And he was like, oh, so and so passed me this episode with you and Karen talking. And then it's like in my mind is like racing. I'm like, oh, what did I say in that episode?
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah. I started thinking about it. And then this is a friend who I wouldn't say is like protective, but brotherly, friendly. And he started off by saying, why would you talk about that? And then I did not realize that I didn't know where this conversation was going to go. Defend myself because I'm talking about things like that we're not supposed to talk about. Being sexually abused as a child is like,
it's your fault, so you have to be shameful and not talk about it.
Yeah, like why are you telling people? Yeah. Like what am I supposed to do? Like just suffer alone with these brutal memories and stuff. So I was confident. I'm like, yeah, so I listened. I'm glad I just gave him space to talk. And I'm so glad I did that because it ended up with him saying, wow, he has gone through a lot in life, like a lot. And it sounded like to me that it gave him courage to, hey, I want to talk to Karen.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I have lots to talk about. And so it wasn't like, hey, why did you go and talk about these things? Yeah. What if your family listens to it? It was more like, oh, wow, I feel like I could talk about something, right? And to me, so.
That's great. What was that like for you hearing that kind of a response from him about something you talked about your story? Like, what was that like for you to sit there and hear that from him?
I don't know. I think he was surprised because I think we think we know what people go through. Yeah. Because we're like, oh, she has anxiety, or sometimes she doesn't show up, or like how I used to be. But people have no idea.
Yeah.
You have no idea what another person is going through behind these doors, right? So I think he was surprised because he didn't know any of this. It made me feel good that it was him that called because I care a lot, and I don't ever push therapy on people or like, hey, go do this to fix yourself. Never been that. Someone asks me for sure.
Yeah.
What I did, this is what worked for me. But I'm glad that it was him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and like that's also, I'm really glad you shared that because that's also a big thing for somebody from our community to pick up the phone, because he could have also ignored the fact that he heard this and ignored the fact when it was brought to his attention and left it. And so the fact that you talking about your childhood experiences, and talking about abuse, particularly sexual abuse, this happens and we act like it's so rare, and it's not rare. And when we talk about it, we're educating ourselves, we're becoming more informed. And of course, only for those that are ready. It takes time and treatment and work, and you were clearly at a place to talk about it. So it melts my heart to hear that these high school friends of ours from back in the day are having even just the conversation of somebody saying, whoa, have you heard this? Wait, what? And then it coming to you. And you're right, it could have been like, why? Because I feel a lot of our community will also, from a shame place, say don't talk about things, but also from a place of, if you talk about the bad things that happen to you, then you're going to make people feel sorry for you. Not worry or feel inspired, but feel sorry for you, like you're weak. You know, that you don't have anything to offer. And I think sometimes we get caught in that, and we got to work on that because that's not the case.
Totally. And that was actually, it's a good point, because that was actually one of my fears, like about talking to people other than like a professional.
Yeah.
The look that someone's going to give me. that pity look, and you never gave me that look.
Mm.
In person, I was at your house, and you didn't look at me any differently. So the worst fear was sharing something like this is they give you those eyes like, oh, I feel so sorry for you. No.
Yeah.
I don't want people to feel sorry for me. I'm sharing a story because I feel like anything that has power over you, like things like how that person talked about colitis or like IBS, and me opening up about this, something so personal that happened, it had power over me.
Yeah.
It controlled my life. It controlled where I went, who I spoke to, if I showed up to an event or not. And as soon as you bring it to the surface, you're taking your power back.
Yeah.
That goes for, like, let's say if someone's in an abusive relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Abusers, like physically, people who physically abuse other people, they have this power over you. They'll threaten you, like, if you go and do this and this, I'm gonna hurt you.
Right.
So that power is what keeps those people from not speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And so when that person comes out and says, like, yes, I'm getting physically abused, it's just an example.
Yeah.
That person loses the power. So things like the IBS, my history with what I went through, I took my power back.
100%. And I think you also, when you talked about it in episode 6, and even hearing you now talk about it, power doesn't mean perfect. So sometimes we think when we take our power back that it means like everything's fixed and all those bad things that happened to me are fine now. No, it just means like we're accepting the fact that these things happened, and now also I'm accepting the fact that I'm not responsible for these bad things that someone did to me, but now I'm responsible for taking care of myself moving forward.
Yes.
Right. And so why should we look at each other with pity when you're in fact doing the opposite and saying, I'm fucking winning this game now. I'm getting out of bed. Before my alarm goes off most days, I'm showering, I'm getting to work. I'm a functioning member of this world where I can dance in living rooms with family, like I'm salsa, I'm doing these sorts of things versus being held hostage by the bad things that happen to us. And I think that really resonated with a lot of people that were emotional and connected in how you confronted your anxiety. That blew a lot of people's minds too. So I think I'm really glad to hear that folks, especially folks from our community, feel like there's space to be able to call each other up and look, that's 2 people that called you, a bunch over here sending these messages, and all because you chose to talk about something from the heart. That's it. How amazing is that? So anything you want to add before we jump into the middle fingers up?
No, I'm good. I love how you put that. It's beautifully put, like how these things that have happened to us, we can't erase them, but how we show up for ourselves every day. Are these things affecting us like they used to?
Mm-hmm.
For absolutely not. It's like it happened, but it's not, like you said, ruining my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I also want to thank you for acknowledging that you didn't feel judgment that day in the room. That's very kind and that's very meaningful. I think that's the hope, that we can show up for each other that way, that you can come to me and I can come to you, and we have people in our village that we can tell some of those scary things that are like describing monsters under our bed. And someone says, well, let me go find that monster with you, or let me, you can come sleep in my bed over here while we take care of that, or I got you. Because your stuff is not my stuff. I'm not responsible for you. And that's exactly what my hope is, that you're not going to get pity from me, because I got my own shit to deal with too. So I got to be responsible for me. And if I do that and you do that, then we can show up better for each other while we're dealing with our shit. We can still be dealing with our life stuff. And have connection with others and say things like, hey, I learned this from my experience. What about for you? And one more thing I want to add is, like, you just back to like you coming on, this is your second round. People like you, lovely listeners, maybe you can give me some advice, because one of the things that I'm really, really hoping moving forward is that we can get more of our community to be more curious and want to tune in. I want to give more feedback about, okay, this is what I didn't like about this episode, or this is what really helped me, or I know someone that I think could be beneficial as a guest. And these are definite things that are starting to happen. It's this lovely thing that keeps happening where every guest is paying it forward for another guest, and you don't realize it. You're just genuinely speaking from the heart and talking about something that's been going on deep down. And I think all of our guests, like you, have been really good examples of how to have real talk. I think sometimes we have best friends and family members that we say are our ride or die, but we don't really know each other. We don't really say this is what I'm afraid of, and this is what I hope for. We're winning if we can say I'm truly working on me, right? I'm a work in progress.
Forever. And it's okay for people who don't want to share. Maybe just listening to people sharing their stories is more than enough for them to go and do their work, but maybe they're never going to tell somebody.
Yep. That's to me more important, because you don't get to see isolation, right? You don't really know it from afar, but if someone's listening and they're getting something out of it, you're right. That's golden.
Yeah, it's like I always read, they'll kind of describe it as there's like a light at the end of the tunnel. So like if someone's listening and they've gone through certain things and they can relate to a lot of the people who have come on to share their stories, maybe that light is just enough to get out of bed.
Yeah.
Maybe it's enough to hit the gym that day.
Yeah.
And then so once you're getting out of bed, you're hitting the gym, it's like a domino effect.
Yep. One thing at a time. Yeah.
One thing at a time. Yeah, it's great. Good for you.
Well, thank you. It's not really good for me. It's appreciation for people like you that come on, and for people that continue to keep supporting and listening. So that's honestly what really kudos to. So, okay, well, we were going to do our middle fingers up like 5 times now. So should we do it? Okay, what did you bring? I'm so excited and eager to learn this time. What was it?
My middle finger up today is based on a recent experience I had, since we're talking about dating and stuff. Middle finger up is to the stigma of being divorced.
Oh, Meena. Okay. All right. Tell me more, buds. What is going on?
Talking to this guy, we're like messaging each other, and I just never had experience like this before, right?
Oh my God.
I learned a lesson from it though, because I think setting boundaries and all that is super important. But he had asked me a fair question. He's like, he's like 40 years old. He's like, oh, I'm meeting a lot of women who are divorced and have kids, and I just want to ask you, like, straight up, if you've been divorced or have kids, because like that's not how I want to start off a relationship with someone. And so I messaged back, fair enough, right? Like that's fine. I can respect that.
Yes.
It's fine.
Good for you. Yes. You
know what you want, right?
You know what you want. You go, girl.
I responded by saying, hey, yeah, I am divorced. I don't have kids. And, good luck to you. I hope you find what you're looking for. And then he responded back surprisingly saying like, oh, no, I still want to get to know you if that's okay. And I was like confused. I'm like, well, you just finished saying.
Yeah.
You don't want someone who's divorced. Anyhow, he said he'll call me. So he calls me. And oh my goodness, it felt like an interview. Okay. Like, it felt like he was interviewing me. Let's call him Ronnie.
Ronnie? Okay. Welcome, Ronnie.
He started off every sentence by saying, Meena, I've caught... I'm going to be honest with you. Yes, Ronnie? I've got some concerns.
Wow, Meena, you are a work in progress. All right. Yeah. This guy's got concerns. Tell us concerns.
You sound like such a great person, like very sweet and nice. To be honest, I have some concerns. And looking back now, I should have ended the conversation, right?
Yeah, here's a concern click.
Yeah. Here's a concern. And he's like, I'm concerned that you've been married and that you might be a little jaded when it comes to relationships. And are you going to put your past onto me and treat me and I was like,
are you not going to make me feel like the king of the fucking world? Right, that's what he's
Yeah.
asking. Like, are you
It,
so jaded that you think all men are brutal? Because, lady, I like my feet massaged at night.
exactly. Oh, it
Oh,
gets better.
okay.
It gets,
Oh, Ronnie.
yeah. And I should have, like, this conversation, I haven't met him for
Thank
like,
God.
thing. It was just a phone conversation that ended at 2 hours with him with all his concerns and starting sentences off with his next concern is my next concern with you, Meena.
You just sat there and you took that for 2
Yeah,
hours?
and I had to really debrief this with first with my coworkers. Like I love them. And I'm like, why? Why did I sit there for 2 hours being
Yeah,
nice?
that's a good
And one of the
question.
lessons coming up is being this yes woman like my entire life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, yes, yes. I'm trying to be nice and polite so this person likes me. Like, what was I thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
I did multiple times say, I'm tired, I got to get to bed, but he just kept talking with his
Well,
concerns.
he had a long list, man.
Yeah, one of his, and I said I had to go walk my dog, and he's like, "Oh, I'll be on the phone with you because it's like
Oh
nine at
my
night."
God. Like, he thinks he's like a gift to you that just he
Yeah, so I'll
he
walk
wants to
you.
stay on the phone with you to keep telling you all the things that are wrong with you.
Yes, yes. Which I thought I didn't like think of it that way in the moment. I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'm walking in the dark. This guy wants to be on the phone. That's fine." The 30-minute walk I went, and more of his concerns come up. He's concerned about how my father
Mm.
would treat his future son-in-law because, like, maybe the first experience with the first son-in-law was not great. And I'm like, oh my God. I go, I've been divorced for 18 years, buddy. I'm like, I do not think about it.
Yeah,
My
but why?
father,
None of that had to do with you.
his other concern, he's like, my other concern is, Meena, do you think you're too independent?
Oh, wow.
Because I forgot to mention he was looking to add a girl into their family, right?
I'm
That
sorry.
yeah, that was his words. Him and his mom were looking to add a girl into the family.
Why are you not married to him already? I don't know. What? Why are, like, seriously? Man, I feel so left out. I have FOMO of what men are like. I feel like
So
I'm missing out.
see, anytime you think like, oh man, why am I married? You
Yeah, yeah.
just
Every time your
on
Podgy
your
does something which you think never can he do anything wrong, but anytime he does do something, I'll have to remember Ronnie.
you remember Ronnie, okay? And remember, someone's picture on the app with them in a bathtub with their dog. I showed my coworker, I go,
Oh my God.
anytime you feel like you don't want to be married and you think the grass is greener on the other side, I showed her a picture. The guy was in the tub with his dog with bubbles.
What
Like,
kind of
this is
dog
what
was it?
I couldn't even see. There's so many bubbles on the dog. It's a brown dog. And I'm like,
So many bubbles on the.
is this the dog or is this the guy's profile? Like, I have no
Is it
idea.
his like arm, his hairy arm or something?
So,
Like, what is it? My friend Amy would say that was her big pet peeve too. She was on and she talked about what is with the guys' profile pictures. Like, I don't understand how you make the decision to put the pictures that these guys sometimes are, I guess, putting on. I don't know. Like,
you wouldn't believe the guy with the dog in the tub is just the beginning.
that's a winner. I'm actually gonna text Amy right after this and tell her that Mina
His whole,
wins.
his whole head was filled with bubbles. You could see one of his eyes.
It's like a 90s hip hop music video going on right there. Oh man.
So, you
And
know how
also, what
this
kind of bathtub was it? Was it like those old house bathtubs where you can barely fit in it, or was it like a big soaker bathtub?
it was like a soaker
Oh,
bath.
okay. Fair. Good for
Yeah,
him to be in a better
yeah,
bathtub. Yeah, that's
yeah,
good.
lots of bubbles. And okay, so you know how this ended with this Ronnie character. So I finally say, okay, I'm going to bed. This is, nice talking to you, which I shouldn't even have said. And he goes, okay, okay, let's do this.
Oh,
Let's let's stay friends. He befriended me, put me in the
okay.
friend.
Okay.
Let's stay friends and let's see where this goes. He's like trying to ask me for coffee the next day.
Mm.
And then he got a little bit quiet. I'm like, oh, like, what are you thinking? Like, where? He's like, well, no, you're not going to be into this. And I'm like, no, like, what are you thinking? And he's like, well, I was thinking I would come over to your place and I can bring dinner and we can have some food at your house. And I go, what? I go, no, I'm sorry. I don't bring people over to my home.
Especially after they give me a long Santa Claus list of like all the reasons I'm on the naughty list.
No, it gets better. I ended up the crazy one in this phone call, according to him. So I said, "Oh no," I go, I'd rather meet you at a coffee shop. He's like, "Told you." He goes, "You're jaded.
See, there
Your
you go.
has completely changed your." I go, "No." I go, "I have not met you. I don't know you. I don't bring guys over to my house on the first date." I go, "I'm sorry." I go, still trying to be polite. I'm like, "I'm sorry, this makes no sense to me." He's like, "Okay, fine. Like, why don't we do this? Why don't you come to my house and have a meal with me and my mom?"
Oh, which is what he wanted from the beginning anyway. It took 2 hours to just invite you over. He could have just said, "Hey, you want to come over for dinner with me and my mom?" We could have ended this 2 hours ago.
But what he's trying to do is put me in the friend zone and then see if his mom likes me.
Oh, yes, because Auntie has to make the final say, right? Final decision.
But yeah, because according to him, his elders make all.
Oh,
His
yeah, yeah, yeah.
decisions by his elders,
And
right?
that's what you're interested in too.
Yeah, so I said, "No, I'm sorry." I go, "I've never met you. I can't meet you and your mom on the same day." And he goes,
Your
"Well, it's not."
loss.
It's not really a big deal. We share food with the neighbors, and I go, "I'm sorry, I'm not gonna come to your house with my dog and meet you and your mom." And he's like, "Oh, you're getting pretty angry, Meena."
Oh, you're so jaded.
I go, "You know what? Good night," and I hung up.
Oh my God, Meena. What is going on? Also, would you as a friend be willing to reach out to him and see if he's willing to come on so I can interview him? I really want to meet this Ronnie character.
I hope he listens to this one day. I mean, it's a one-off experience. I found it. I laugh about it with my.
It is
Yeah.
funny. It is funny. I'm glad you have a sense of humor and you can laugh about it because some people are like legit out there trying to find quote unquote the one. And these guys, these characters show up and it's just a riot, I would imagine. Because
Yeah.
where is the one? The one is who you make. You can't go find, you can't interview someone. That guy, man, I
It's just like
just
interview, and I was thinking I should have said, "Oh, am I too?" He's like, "Are you too independent?" And I'm like, "Well, are you too
that's my
dependent?
ooh, look at that. Yeah.
Live with
Yeah.
your mom, right? Like
Well,
you're
yeah. Yeah.
so
I mean, I
that.
do wish him the best of luck,
Yeah, of
but I
course.
I worry about his future
You know,
because,
good luck to him, and
yeah, so
just
middle are we doing our middle fingers up to Ronnie or to the situation? Like, what are we gonna put it up to? Because there's a lot in there.
no, I won't put it up to Ronnie because
That's mean.
yeah, like he wants what he wants. That's fine.
Yeah.
He obviously is gonna have issues. The way he was talking to me and all that stuff, he'll have issues. But like, I can't hate people for knowing what they want. Did it feel like an interview? Yes. I
No, it was an interrogation, man. That's not an interview.
Yeah. So my middle finger up is to the stigma of divorced
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
We're broken, and we're like
Oh yeah, that's
that.
you did say that in the beginning. Sorry.
No, no, it's okay. And like, oh, where something's wrong with us or that we're never going to be able to love again. No, I've never looked at, I was never a man hater after my divorce. I never said, oh,
Yeah.
all men are the same. Like I've never made
No, but
those.
also, dude, I'm going to stop you because you don't owe anyone any kind of need to defend yourself. Divorce is a traumatic experience, I would imagine, for people. And the last thing anyone that's experiencing something like that, when you're not at your best, like you don't enter a partnership expecting it's going to fail. You enter a partnership thinking the best is going to come out of it. And when you end up on this other side and that doesn't happen, like how is it that we as humans can look so hard like down on each other in the way of you're jaded or you're broken now and something's wrong with you? Divorce is one of many different traumatic experiences, like I'm sure our friend Ronnie had too, and it's sad when we think that these experiences make us worse than better people.
Yeah, and like you said, I don't know anybody. I don't think anybody goes into a commitment like that thinking that I'm gonna get divorced. So that's my middle finger up. How about yours? Sorry,
Well,
mine was.
I mean, I kind of want to join you too. So I'll put one up to that one too.
Mhm,
And then the
mhm.
other one, it was Terrence gave me, he wants me to put my middle fingers up to scammers, which is interesting because this guy kind of sounds like that too. So today was a very interesting day for my household. I have been in a ball of anxiety all day because I felt like while I was busy with the podcast doing some stuff, my family was ambushing a potential adoption of a puppy today. And,
Oh,
I just am not into having any pets right now in my life. So
yeah.
it's been this like now everybody, before I had Carrie on the same side as me, but now it's team pup versus mom.
Oh,
So today, this pretty cute picture pops up, and it's like these cute little puppies, and Carrie's showing me, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know, man, I don't know. And then he calls a few people, like everyone he reaches out to in our WhatsApp group, he's calling, they're all like, do it, do it. And I'm like, is anyone gonna say this is a bad idea? Like, am I literally the only one here? So,
yeah.
they're like making a plan. They're gonna drive to Saskatchewan and go get a puppy. So
Oh,
there I go into I did 2 recordings today. So I went to a recording earlier and
uh,
I thought, "Oh God, let's see what happens. Oh my gosh." And then I find out that it was a scam. And so somebody had hacked this other person's profile where they were selling puppies and
uh,
basically the scammer was pretending and so that they could get a deposit transferred to them.
oh
So
no.
Carrie and so the kids were devastated because the way their day started, thinking, yeah, we're going to convince mom, we're going to get this puppy, our life is going to be so great, to, oh my God, fuck the world. The world is jaded, not divorce is. It's
Yeah.
the world. So yeah, so so today Terrence is like, Mom, can you put your middle fingers up when you're talking to Meena Mussy about scammers? And I was like,
Oh,
yeah, Terrence, fuck the scammers. And then he's like, swear jar, swear jar. And I'm like, dude, just stop being on me all the time about swear jar. But yeah, so fuck the
that's.
scammers
I
out
put,
there.
yeah, I put my middle finger up to scammers too.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Right?
Did you give the deposit? Because I
No,
heard that.
Carrie didn't, but dude, it was like the thing that would have sucked is this person was like, I'll meet you halfway. So it would have cut Carrie's drive to like 4 hours. But Carrie
Uh-huh.
would have done a fucking 4 hour drive there to
Yeah.
show up and not have a puppy and then drive 4 hours home. Like, can you imagine that drive home that you gave this deposit to this person? He just started to get a weird feeling. I think his mom was even like, how did you pick up on that? And I think some people you can just sort of start to think something doesn't feel right, but
Yeah.
most people would have totally fell for that scam.
Oh, I know a
And
family who gave the deposit,
yeah, there you go, right? There you
and
go.
just never showed up. This is terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Like, I know you got to eat, man. Everybody's got to like get some food in their belly and survive, but it just sucks when we have to cut each other down to do it, right?
Terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, the kiddos. Because you're
Yeah, but
excited.
hey, we don't have a dog, so
I think that I'm sorry to say, I think you're gonna lose that
you
battle.
know what? We'll talk about that another day. Right now, I won another battle. So I was like, thank you, scammers. But no, really, fuck you, scammers, but also thank you, scammers. So have you had scammers or have people scam you?
I get messages all the time, like people trying to be like the bank or CRA,
Yeah.
and you won, click on this, and other than that, I
Do you
haven't
ever
been.
want to desperately click? Like, don't you like when you've had a
No,
really shitty day in your life and you just want
no.
one winning thing and you know this could be wrong? And you're like, I don't fucking care. I'm just going to click and spin this wheel. And then, no, good for you. Me too.
Yeah, right. You're always clicking away on
I'm
every.
always clicking. I'm always getting scammed.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's hard to be in those situations and say no, and we're gonna talk about this soon. Or like at the grocery store, or like Lexi when I go for the pet store. At the very end, would you like to donate $2 to SPCA or $2 to the food bank? And I always say yes. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
instead of like maybe one time I could say like actually I donated last week and
Yeah.
a few
Or
weeks ago.
we're not obligated to have to say yes. Like, people don't know your financial situation or whether you want to donate to that. But yet we get these stories in our heads about, it's the same as tipping. When you walk up to a counter and buy something and the tip thing comes on, and now I'm like, well, I got to give you $2 because we're going to be standing here for 4 minutes while you make me my coffee. And I'm going to, like, it's like my own judgment too. And honestly, it goes back to episode 1 of the stereotype of you people are cheap. Like, brown people, you know, that whole we don't tip, and any immigrants or people of color just are cheap and don't tip or whatever. And then sometimes you just feel like you have to like overdo it. Okay, but I, you know, like, I mean, I guess I shouldn't be buying that coffee anyway, but that extra $2 does make a difference if I keep giving it away,
does.
You know?
And the machines, like the credit card machines, all have a tip option.
Everywhere you go.
You know, so
I feel like can we carry a personal one? Like, if we have a really good personal interaction, can I just have my machine and you like just give me a tip or something?
Oh, that would be great. I'd be tipping you all the time.
Yeah, that's right. Tip me. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Then your money will go into the swear jar.
And then oh gosh, swear jar. I'm like, Terrence, if I'm rapping, it's not swearing. Yeah. It's me, it's expression of arts and culture. The other day, that was my argument. Arts and culture, look it up. Maybe you need to educate yourself. And he's like, Mom, I'm almost 10 years old. Don't talk to me this way. Go put money in the swear jar. Like, so you know, you try to like get away from your parents who control you, and then you like grow up, live in your own house, pay your own heat bill, and then your kids start taking over and controlling you. And you're like, the only thing I got out of growing up was paying a heat bill. Okay, let's do this. So we had a task. We wanted to do this. So should we jump into it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So my first lesson it's a lesson I'm still learning, but one lesson learned so far in life is setting boundaries is a form of self-respect and saying no is okay.
Yes.
So we're talking about how being a yes woman, yes man. Yes. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately, especially that phone call with that guy. And it's like, I'm like, wow, I've been a yes woman my entire life. I remember we were talking the other day about when someone's asking something from you, like either a favor or do you want to go here or whatnot, to taking the time to just, hey, I'll get back to you. Yeah. Right? I've never been that person. All my answer was always yes. If someone was asking me a favor or wanting to go out, let's say I know I had a pretty busy weekend, but someone asks me to do something, I say yes right away. I don't think about it. So I am learning about boundaries, and setting boundaries does not make you a bad person. It's a form of respect for yourself. Yeah.
That is very, very well said. It is a form of respect for yourself. And I think sometimes that's a foreign concept for many of us. Is again, we look to the outside. So it's, am I respecting you enough? Do you think you're being respected enough? But not, what about me? How do I feel about myself? So I think the boundaries thing is good. And I think also like growing up in the way that we did too, boundaries were loosey-goosey, right? Yes. Like we didn't lock our bedroom doors. Your parents could access the bathroom if they, you know, for my mom, that was a thing that was open. Like we just never had locked doors. My mom knew everything, any clothing that I wore, right? So if I borrowed, you know, as kids, you borrow clothes or whatever, and it's like, that's not yours. They were very attentive that way. So like boundaries there wasn't privacy. And I think that's the other thing is when we didn't grow up with boundaries, we didn't have privacy either. And so how do you have time for yourself and figure out what you are when everything you're doing is as one, as together? And you have to be a community and say yes to help. That's how our parents got by, helping each other. And we were grateful for our cousins and whoever got their license first to help drive and all that, right? So it's like, it's no wonder that we get to this place now where it's such a problem.
Well, it's like a foreign concept to us.
Yeah.
What are boundaries? How do you set them? It's like thing like being aware now, okay, I need to do this and set some boundaries for myself, but like, how do you do that?
Yeah. How do you do it? Like, so if I ask you if you can help me, or hey, do you want to come on and record an episode with me? Yeah. What do you do? How do you say no?
It's a good example. I have 2 examples that I just thought of. So,
okay, let's do it.
So like, you text me or like you say, hey, let's record an episode. And I'm so excited and I'm just like, yes, right? And then instead of There was no question about recording. The question was when.
Yes.
So for me, what happened was I like to help people. I used to be like, yes, I'll do it. I'll do this for you. No problem. Even if it meant going out of my way or changing my plans, right?
Yeah.
So the first date that we chose, I actually didn't take time to think about how busy that weekend was for me, right?
Yeah.
And I said, as soon as I saw your text, I said, yes, let's do it this weekend. Let's do Sunday or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Then the next day, I was like, what was I thinking? Like, I want to record, but it can't be this weekend. I have this, this, and this. So this is an example, taking a moment to look at my schedule and like because I'm very guilty of overbooking myself. And then I went through a burnout last year with like my business and stuff. And recovering from that was hard. It took months because you're just so exhausted. Another example is taking the time to getting back to someone.
Yeah.
Because we're wanting to respond to text messages right away.
Right.
Please.
Yeah, everything's not an emergency. It's also believing that when you say I'll get back to you, that the other person doesn't have to take that badly either. I think sometimes we don't say that because then it's going to look like you're letting me down. Like, why else do you say yes right away to people? Because you want to be there for people, I would imagine, right?
Want to please people.
Want to please people, right? Well, Meena is the one that always shows up.
Yes. And that's what I've built my whole character on.
It's true.
Like,
Meena will be there. Yep.
But what ends up happening is it's not that I don't want to do it. It's like I said, the timing of promises, right? Yeah, I really want to do this, but this weekend I just can't. And then what ends up happening is if you overdo it, you end up being like feeling resentful. A perfect example. So I was going to my family and I went to India in February. And there was like I was gone for 3 weeks and I had people helping me with my dog. There was like 4 or 5 days I didn't have a helper. And so I reached out to my sister-in-law, my cousin's wife, and I was at her and I realized I was at her house when I asked her that and put her on the spot. Maybe like I asked her like, hey, is it okay if like Lexi stays here for a few days while I'm gone? And it's very hard for me to ask for help. Like to ask someone to help me out with my dog is very hard. And she ended up saying yes in the moment. And a week later, so we were talking back and forth. A week later, she actually messaged me and said, Meena, I am so sorry, but the week that you need me to watch Lexi is so crazy. Like, she's got 3 children.
Yeah.
She is like an amazing, amazing person, human being. I love her so much. But she also has a dog. And the few days I needed Lexi watched happened to be on the same week it was her kid's birthday.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff.
So she ended up saying, like, I'm so sorry I can't watch her.
Yeah.
And I remember her saying, oh my God, like, I'm worried you're going to be mad. And I said, no, thank you for telling me that and for setting a boundary, because we actually talked about boundaries just a couple of weeks before I had asked her.
Right.
So this is wonderful. You told me the truth. I respect. I'm not mad. I'm like, I totally respect the fact that you're like, hey, because otherwise you would take the dog.
Yeah.
You would have a miserable week.
Yep.
And that's just another example. Like, if you really truly do something for someone, just be yourself and say, I can't.
I agree, because I think then resentment happens because I feel now sometimes the dialogue is I feel like I had no choice but to say yes to you and I got cornered. And I think sometimes fair that happens, but often we cornered ourselves. We put ourselves in that position. And like, people are going to ask. We always say we should ask. It's not going to hurt to ask. But I had heard from a therapist, it's called exercising your no muscle more. So you go to the gym and, you work out, and some of our muscles aren't as strong as some of our other ones, so got to exercise my no muscle more. And so I feel it here, like that's what boundaries are going to help you practice.
Yeah, the word,
right? Yeah.
Right. There's a way of saying no.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely something that's made life better and easier.
Yeah, I agree. I think that back-to-back world is tough. I was talking to someone else about that too. It's when you book your day, back to back, you don't have time to plan, prep, think, have a moment to process. Maybe you're going from something really hard to another hard thing. And it's okay to have more space in the day. And so that you have the time to, again, reflect or process or do what you need to do to get from one thing to the other. I think sometimes we just think we got to do all the things because I want to be productive. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're that productive. Because for me, it's like I half-assed those 6 things that when if I should have just done the 3, but I said I was going to do 6, and now everything didn't get my all, essentially. So now I'm mad at myself. It's like, yep, there we go. That's a good one. I think that's a good life lesson, like to keep practicing, and your boundaries will continue to get tested throughout life, and it'll be what do you
but
what
now forefront, like there's awareness there now, right?
Yeah.
Before, when you don't know that you're a yes woman or a yes man, and you're just saying yes, you're just yes, but I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
I think I also feel, and I agree, I had this conversation too with someone, and it sits with me a lot, is sometimes for people that say yes a lot, you mentioned too, those that are pleasers, that want to make sure everyone else is okay, everyone else is taken care of. Often it's worked for us growing up, those of us that are that. And for a lot of people, there's ADHD involved with that too. But it's you grow up faking it till you make it. You look at what everyone else wants, what everyone's wearing, what everyone's doing, and you try to be those other people. And I remember this person saying, then you're in your mid-30s and in the middle of a divorce and wake up and think, holy crap, I don't even know who I am. What am I doing? Like, none of this is what I wanted, essentially, and somehow I went along with it. And what does that mean? So I think it's important, you're right, to figure out, what do I stand for? What are the things that, I want to say yes to, and what are the things that I want to say no to? Yeah, thank you for not saying no to me, though.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, right. It's my best friend. She a real bad bitch.
So what about you? Let's
okay, well, that one wasn't, I was looking at my list. That one was not on there. So I agree with it absolutely, but I didn't actually put that one on there. So good one. I will say my one that I will pick here is, there's a couple of good ones. I think letting other people's opinions guide you, and it's kind of what we're saying right now. So we all need guidance in our life, and I'm not talking about that. We have mentors, we have parents, we have people that we respect that guide and influence us. I'm talking about when other people's perspectives and opinions become factual. Because let's say, because people think that you always say yes, and you are always, saying yes, but then you're changing the plans along the way, people decide that you're flaky.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now you hear from someone that, people think I'm flaky, and now you've decided that you are flaky.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like, well, that was that person's opinion. And so somebody had once taught me 6 of us can look at the same image, the same painting, and all 6 of us will walk away with different perceptions. So we have to accept that because one person said something, it doesn't mean that's the way it is. And I think what happens in relationship that I'm learning in the later years of mine and Carrie's marriage is that this is when you start emotionally getting connected. So Carrie's mad about something, and now I can't separate from that. And now I'm mad. Now my day's ruined.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so I think because, again, I'm thinking, well, Carrie feels that way about that situation. He's frustrated about it. Why do I have to get so connected to it? Why do I have to be so mad now? My day, like, that's what my husband's feeling and upset. Why do I have to now get activated too? Right. And likely it's because my trauma responses or my past experiences, feelings that are connected are rising. And so now I'm mad because I'm used to when someone else is upset, it's fear. So it puts me in that place. So I think that's something that I've been looking at a lot lately too, is also a budding teenager. Like, my kid's going to have emotional roller coasters all the time. And do I want to jump on that roller coaster every time? Or would I rather wait for him on the sidelines, as so I think it's that, opinion is not fact. So learning that. What do you think? Like, does that sit with you? Yeah.
Yeah, something like similar on my list about opinions. I have on here, focus on your own journey instead of what others are doing, where they are in their life, and what they think of you. Can't make everyone happy. So going to what you're saying about different perspectives, like when Carrie is going through something, or your son is going through the emotional stuff, like up and down with being a teenager, taking a moment to put yourself in their shoes, as hard as it may be, most, because we're not conditioned to do that. That is a skill that is to be learned, and usually later in life, right? And if you're willing to be open-minded, you have to be willing to put yourself in other people's shoes. So, example, one of your boys, just due to being a teenager, is having an emotional day, and then just taking a moment and being like, okay, if I was a teenager, like I remember how that was, and how is he looking at this situation versus whatever your husband's mad about, like they're looking at that situation differently than you, right?
Yeah.
It does help.
100%. Yeah.
An opinion not being fact, I love that, because what happens is everybody's opinion of you ends up being what you think of yourself.
Yeah,
right?
100%. That's what you're projecting out, thinking people think that I am a bad mom when essentially I'm feeling that way. That's an example I'm using right now. I'm having a good week, so I'm a good mom this week. But when we feel certain way, it's like they're going to think this way of me. I don't look good. I look like I gained weight. I look like I aged or whatever it is when I show up at that party. And again, they're all going to judge me. And maybe they do, but we don't know that. Except for the aunties at the parties, because they have no filter and they'll come tell you all the things in the world, but they're different. You know what I mean? So like I hear what you're saying is like you're right. It's like our own stuff that we're projecting out, but we're putting it on other people, saying, well, Meena feels this way about me. When you never once said that. I'm thinking you feel that way.
Exactly. And so that's where the communication breakdown, right?
Yeah.
Things in relationships go sideways because of just not communicating. Like I'm thinking you're thinking, like I'm thinking that you're thinking I'm a certain way or something, right?
Oh, you know what I think about you.
Yeah, I do know.
It's very clear.
It's very clear.
Yeah.
You make it very clear.
I make it very clear.
Yeah.
Right?
How much you love me.
How much I love you. Exactly. That's right. I make it known all the time.
Yeah.
That you are loved. Yeah. So, okay. So what's your next one?
I have learned that time is our most valuable resource. Staying in the present moment. Time is something like we can't get back. So we all have an equal amount of time.
Yeah.
And I lately have just been, actually not lately, it's been a few years where super proud of myself of doing things, only the things I want to do, right? So we can relate to this because we've talked about it before. An example is going to a function where your parents want you to go. It's a wedding or something. And you go to these 5 functions. So you take 5 days out of a week, out of your life to show up somewhere that you don't want to be in the first place.
Yeah.
So time for me is so valuable. I value it so much. I don't like to waste other people's time. I don't like my time wasted. And staying in the present moment, like one thing that has gotten me so much happier in life, practicing mindfulness. It took some time and effort, but I can truly say that I'm able to stay here.
Present time consciousness.
Present PTC. Oh my goodness, your memory.
You're a good teacher, man. You teach good. Always remember that.
PTC. Present time consciousness. So I am rarely stuck in the past or worried about the future. 10 years ago, whoa. The past does not exist. The future is not promised. Yeah. What we have, it's so cliche, but what we have is right here, you and me talking. So being fully present in what you are doing day to day. I remember once remember we were at your brother's house, and I think it was when I surprised you for your 40th. And I was talking about how like I find laundry, and you're like, how is that possible?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
because I started off by practicing mindfulness, by pumping gas, doing
Yes.
laundry, washing dishes. So basically, I would say, yeah, time. Time
Yeah.
is
The,
spend time who you like want to spend time with,
yeah.
and don't do things you don't want to do.
Again, I think everything that is being brought up is about we have our choices that we get to make, and it is hard to not get caught up in the distractions that life throws at us and
Mhm.
use those distractions as a reason why we can't do the things. I can't travel because of this. I can't go to that thing because of that. I'm too busy for this, all those things. And some of them, yeah, fair, true, absolutely. But not everything is that way. So I agree with what you're saying in terms of looking at where am I at and what am I, you're like you said, what am I promised? Like what is the one thing that's certain is right now. So, Carrie and I just got back from a vacation. We did a little trip
Yeah.
and we talked a lot about that on the way about there was nothing to do but be present. We actually gave you a shout out in our episode because I always remember you talking about present time and consciousness, and just that came from when I was getting working out tips from you.
Yeah.
And just when you're present and you work out and you focus on that muscle, you're going to develop it. But if you're doing biceps and you're thinking about something else, you're not utilizing the muscle in the way that you should be flexing, right? Like that's you pay attention, it works in the moment. Here's what I'm doing. These are the reps. So I think about that a lot. And when Carrie and I were on that trip, that's what it felt like was this back to this basics and no distractions and just being able to sit with each other in a car for 6 hours and figure it out as we go because we're going to be in that car for 4 more hours if we have a fight. It was really cool to be like, hey, that's what's happening right now is we are literally focusing on right now. That's kind of
Yeah,
cool.
and it is, and that reminds me of, so I never used to understand this before, but when you're saying like all we have is right now, that's why people who do boxing as a sport and they do things like skydiving, they do things like anything that if you're not fully present, something very wrong can happen, right?
Right. Yeah.
I love boxing. I love it so much. And I realize this is why I love it. There is absolutely no time for me to think about what I'm going to do later or what happened yesterday or this conversation with my mom.
Mhm.
Because if you miss, covering yourself properly, you are going to get punched or hit, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, because meditation is not easy for everybody, like
No.
just close your eyes, but things like boxing is a meditation. Jumping out of a plane, people get that high
Yeah.
because there's nothing they're thinking about at that moment.
I'd be thinking
Um,
about pissing my pants, but what do
yeah,
I know?
I don't know either. It's not something I've do,
But
but
but you're right. Like there's lots of different ways that we can meet that need, and I think that's the thing when we talk about these things is like you said, therapy is not for everyone, but talk therapy is one form of therapy. There's so many different therapeutic ways to get our needs met,
yeah,
or talk, or that just that like we said, the mind and body connection of being present. Okay, so I think that I have learned over the years is this thing about thinking that sacrifice and love are the same thing. And
mm,
I can't say this is exactly my thought, but I read something that helped me relate to this and feel, yes, okay. So especially in our community, our older generations really glorify sacrifices and
yes,
right,
yeah,
like
yeah,
marriage and giving up their life for this and that. And so when it gets to us, and honestly, after us, it's less and less, but definitely by our generation, we start to feel bad about what love is supposed to be. That you're supposed to give your all and your everything, and I'm supposed to give up my identity for you in this marriage and this relationship. And that means I love you. I die for you. Fuck, please don't anyone ever ask me. Like, I ask myself this every day. Like, who would you die for? And I'm like, God, okay, like, I guess I'm gonna have to say my kids. Like, I can't not say my kids, but like, this ultimate, I'm like, am I the worst person in the world? Like, I would never throw myself on a fire for someone. That'd be too, not that I don't want to, I'd want to kill myself for you, but I'm scared to hit the fire, man. Like, that hurt. So like this older generation, when they talk about sacrifice and love, I think we get this weird mixed message, and you see that in Bollywood movies too, right? Like running around the college campus singing a song to someone on the top of your, like, you're doing the most extreme gesture to show this. And when we get to our present time, I think we don't always realize that sacrifice and love are two different things, and we feel bad and guilty because the relationship didn't work out because I didn't give it everything. I didn't give it my all. I think in the last few years, feeling really healthy and really proud in the, to be in this relationship with Carrie in the way that we've gotten to, I've been able to realize, oh yeah, there's a difference between what love and sacrifice is. And you can still have your identity and have your space and have your boundaries, all these things we're talking about, and still have love,
Yeah, for sure. That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah. I liked it too. And I was like, I really appreciated that because that helped me realize, oh yeah, I gotta switch gears here. You shouldn't have to give up this thing for me. Sometimes like we think you have to give up that thing to show me that you love me. Give up your friends. Right?
That's a big one.
It is a big one. Yeah.
I think you can show love in so many different ways without having to sacrifice certain parts of you and like what's important to you.
Yeah.
Like loving someone or like figuring that out before, right? Committing. Like if you're with someone and you can't stand their friends and they like being around their friends, like that's something you gotta think. Or
but like, why don't I like their friends?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to lie, that was a big thing for me. And there's lots of things I had to figure out along the way. Some things is like, yeah, our friends are, some of our friends are throughout the years maybe weren't the healthiest friends to be with. But a lot of it comes down to my thing. Like, it's not you and your friend. It's my insecurity. It's my worry that I don't have the ability to deal with whatever it is I'm worried is happening when you and your friends hang out. It's like, we push it out. It's external. It's not here. It's not happening in our home. It's happening out there.
Yeah.
Right. And I just think we have one life. And when we're so resentful and angry and think this is the only way, I think maybe it is. But from where I'm sitting, it's not the only way. Not all the ways are the best ways, but sometimes there's something that is a little better than what's happening over here, right? And in the way that we're living. And so, yeah, like sacrifice to me is like not for me. It's not my thing.
Yeah, and you had a good point about in our culture, it's glorified.
Yeah.
And if I think about it, I can sometimes hear my parents, like my dad, boasting about it, like about the sacrifices. And one day I kind of caught him on it because he was saying like something about my mom and how she sacrificed so much, and my mom's sitting there quiet, and then I just asked him, I'm like, okay, well, have you ever asked mom if she's happy? And he did not know what to say, and it's very rare if my dad doesn't know what to say, like he knows what to say. And it's almost like he didn't even look at my mom because he didn't want to know the answer.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you've made all these sacrifices. My mom's the ideal wife. She cooks and cleans what ideal is supposed to be, whatever. It's not ideal for everybody. Not every guy wants that. But not every
woman wants to do that too.
And not every woman wants to do that. But nobody yet has probably asked my mom, are you happy?
Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder if she'd know what to say. Like, what do you think she would say to that if your dad asked her that or you asked her that?
I think she would say, yes, I am. Like, your dad's provided me with everything.
Yeah. Or I'm happy because you're happy. Like, my happiness is when my kids are happy and healthy. Sometimes parents say those things, and I'm like, again, I'm a terrible mom because I got to find happy for me. I can't be happy because my kid's happy.
No, my mom wouldn't say that.
She's also doesn't believe in that kind of sacrifice. Then there's different kinds of sacrifices, right?
Yeah, being like sacrificing. So she wasn't, my dad didn't want her to work.
Yeah.
So she always wanted to work. I remember her having jobs, and then my dad would call her to come home because my dad wanted to be the one who went to work, and she had to be the one cooking, cleaning, taking care of the kids.
Right.
Now, is my mom resentful for that? Oh, 100%. I know she is.
Yeah.
But she has never said anything. So I love this one because you nailed it. It's like, it's not this humbling thing to do to sacrifice just love. No, you should be supported and loved for who you are and what you want to do.
For sure. Exactly. Or else, we're going to wake up one morning and if Carrie expected me to be the traditional cooking, she laughs because she knows none of
I
that
just
shit
laughed.
happens when she's at our house. You do more work when you come to my house than I do, and we know how
Yeah.
much you do. Meena Mussy, are you gonna change your hair? Isn't that what my kid asked you one time when you were staying at our house because your hair was a mess?
I was watching him, and then we're looking in the mirror, and I didn't even realize I had my hair up in a messy bun. And he was younger then. The way he talked was so cute. He's like, you know, Missy, your hair looks like a tornado.
He was not wrong.
And it did. It
Yeah,
looked like a tornado.
so
But no,
good.
I really, really like that one.
Yeah, that
That
was a good
one.
one. Okay, so what's next?
I'm gonna combine two. Okay, one lesson I've learned, taking care of your mental and physical health should be our top priority.
Yes.
I'm going to combine that with finding balance in life is the key, because we were talking about, okay, so working out, I learned we're so focused on our physical body. Now, you go to the gym, you lift weights to what look good in your clothes or whatnot, but what are we doing for our mental health?
Mm-hmm.
So when I started working on that daily, instead of having shit pile up and then you're just breaking down, I'll do little things every day. So one thing that I never would have thought of doing, okay, so being mindful, staying in the present moment, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Meditation it's already a daily thing, so whatever. But one thing I added was daily forgiveness of yourself and others.
Oh, compassion.
Okay, so every end of the day, I don't do it every day, but pretty a few times a week for sure, right? Something will come into your mind, maybe someone said something, maybe something from the past creeps up. So this forgiveness, forgiving yourself and others, is a huge part of mental health.
Yeah.
Doing anything physical, of course, like exercise.
Yeah.
So I learned that the hard way, because being a yes person, I'll skip workouts. I will skip my morning routine because I want to, if I'm doing something for someone else, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten good at taking care of myself first.
Yeah.
I always thought that, no, take care of others first, me last.
Because otherwise, you're selfish if you take care of yourself first?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely the furthest from the truth, right?
Well, and as women, and it's even harder as women of color too, that's just ingrained in you constantly, in a way of, lack of resources, growing up having to be caretakers, and so you have to grow up fast, and yeah, you have to take care of others. So there was never any room really, and I'm not complaining about that, because I also am proud of a bit of that trait too.
Yeah.
It's just that, like you said, finding the balance in between as well. I think that people can, it's a nice quality to have when people say they can rely on you. It's nice to be relied on.
Oh, definitely.
Right? But there's a line, as I hear you saying, that, when you're giving up your own routine, how can you show up for others when you haven't been able to show up for yourself?
Exactly. So beautifully put. I love it when you're I'm super proud of being this kind of a person.
Yeah.
I am go-to person. You can rely on me.
100%. Yeah.
I'm there for people. I'm proud of that. But
It's true.
will I
I
ever?
provide the reference to that. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a reference right here.
Yeah. Reference check that. Yeah.
And so I'm proud of that trait, and I wouldn't change that, because that's just me. It's ingrained in me. But I will never let myself take a hit or miss out on something or be burnt out.
Yeah. I really appreciated that when we were staying with you in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a hectic schedule. And what I really liked about what you did was you also had your schedule. You weren't sitting around waiting on us. You were like, okay, keep me in the loop. Here's a key. But you also had, hey, listen, I made plans to go to the TLC concert, while you're going to be here. And it's yeah, thanks. Because if you didn't do that, you'd be sitting around waiting and probably feel bad that you didn't get to go party and do that thing with your nieces. It's nice to be able to think of your own stuff. And I noticed that's a bit different for you. So it was nice to see that you were
But you know how hard that was, even though I've been working on this for quite a while now. But that was hard for me. I felt so guilty. I felt so bad. But I had gotten the TLC tickets. I did have a plan that day. And it was super hard for me.
Yeah.
Like the OT would have canceled that because you guys were, you had a light day that day.
We did actually, yeah.
Right? That we could have hung out and stuff.
Don't worry, I had a negative Yelp review.
Yeah, you know, so that was hard for me, but this is, yeah, an example where
well, it worked out, right? Like I think that was a key. And I remember when we recorded the last episode, remember we had somewhere to go to afterwards?
After we recorded that session, like emotionally, like it takes a toll when you're telling your like life story.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling tired. I laid down, but we had dinner plans, and this is not something I would miss. Like
No.
I don't care how I'm feeling, I want to show up for people. And it's always what are people going to think, and they probably weren't even thinking about me, but you know what I mean. But I'm like, hey, Karen, I'm going to stay here. You thought I was joking.
I did. I honestly, because I never expected you to say that. We're going to like a family, like my brother's in-laws house.
Yeah.
You know, like when would anyone say, no, I'm not going to go?
Yeah, it wasn't me.
It would never have been you. Yeah, you'd be the first one there.
And I felt really bad, and you had painters over, so I used it as an excuse to just watch them and give them tea or whatever.
Yeah, but that's a good example that you brought up, because for me too, I was like, oh, that's different. And I went to like worry, like, are you okay? Like, because it's not like you, but you were great. You were like, you know what? We did a lot today and I need to process some stuff. And I'd like me to have a really good tomorrow because we have plans tomorrow too. So I'm going to take this time. I remember you saying that. And I remember being like, dude, that's like the best. That was a really good teaching moment for me. Yeah. Seeing that and being like, awesome, good work. And people only trash talk about you for 10 minutes. And that was it at the dinner. And then we got over it and started talking about other things. You know, over the first 10, I was like, I know, my friend is terrible. Meena's terrible. What a terrible person, right? So, but yeah, no, everybody, you know, people were disappointed because they wanted to see you. But that's all it was like, oh, that's too bad. Okay, great, move on. Like it wasn't, you know, they have a right to feel that way too.
They do 100%. Right? Before that, though, I would be thinking, oh my God, what are they going to think of me? Making it seem like it's all about me. They're going to talk about me for 2 hours. No, 10 minutes, they got out of their system. And then
it wasn't even 10 minutes, buddy. No one talked. No, people forgot. People were like, oh, what? Meena, who's that? Somebody else was coming? Oh, wow. Sorry. We were just so excited that you were coming over, Karen. Right? But that's just it. We worry about other people. So, okay, you finish it off. One more. Give us one more.
Okay. Last one I'm going to share is this one. I'm gotta say, I'm taking it from Oprah. I'm stealing it from Oprah.
Sometimes you gotta. Okay. What did Oprah teach you?
Yeah, one day Oprah's going to be listening, and I'm going to say thank you. It took me years to get this, Karen, years to get this. But when I got it, because every time she's on a podcast, she learned it from Maya Angelou, and she usually brings this up most of her podcasts. Now, I've been listening to her forever. It didn't stick until recently.
Repetition, 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 right?
Okay, you ready for it?
I'm ready. Give it to me.
When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time.
Ooh, wow. That one's like intense though. What if you met me on a bad day though? What if you met me on a bad day?
No, I'll give you an example.
Okay, help me. Yeah.
It's a heavy one. Okay, so what she means is, let's say, for example, you're dating someone. Well, it's not an example. It's my personal experience.
Well, let's hear your personal lived experience. Okay. You dated someone. Okay. Like, is Ronnie coming up again?
No, Ronnie is no. Okay, so when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Meaning, you meet someone, okay? They tell you everything you want to hear. There's a connection, there's a spark, and so you keep trying to make it work.
Yeah.
When clearly they showed you from the beginning that they're not capable of giving you the most basic needs a human being needs, okay? Basic, I'm talking, okay? And you keep thinking that, no, the connection is so strong, he'll change. Mm-hmm. But years go by, and the person is doing the exact same thing that they did the very first week they met you. So this was a very hard lesson, but when I got it, I really got it, because I'm like, I spent so much time trying to make it work with someone who was just not capable to provide me basic things that a human needs, and no fault of his. it's not like a person bashing kind of a example. No, no,
Yeah, yeah,
no.
yeah. It's like your own recognition of what you were or weren't getting out of a relationship. It's not about him, but it's you. Because again, you have a choice.
Yeah, and what I was doing was I was dating someone's potential.
Yeah.
Because this person was so nice and sweet and so good to me, it was very confusing to me, right?
Mm.
So dating someone's potential, like what they could be if they didn't have all these problems.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah. Well, absolutely, all the time. You think, oh, I can fix that up easily.
know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's what I'm gonna leave.
Do you think that like that's a common thing for a lot of people or even people in our culture that we miss those red flags or those signs along the way because we want something so bad?
Yeah, for sure. Because especially when there's nothing seriously wrong, someone's not physically or emotionally abusive, they're very like sweet to you and good to you, and you have this friendship base, and you just think it'll just work out.
Yeah.
But the red flags are things that should be any man or woman's deal breakers.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Yeah.
can't turn to someone for your most basic need, I don't, it's just,
No, it's like imagine the worst day possible with your partner, like the worst experience you guys could ever go through, whether it's your personal individual one or something you both experience, and you
yeah,
still wake up together as a team the next day and try to work through that. That right there is the difference of okay, we're going to get through shitty times together. We're going to work through this. We respect each other's life story, childhoods, all that. And then
yeah,
there's exactly what you said of I don't have to pay attention to this now and maybe it'll go away or like you said maybe they'll change, they'll just stop drinking or they'll talk more because they'll be more
yeah,
comfortable with me. They'll open
exactly.
up more, right? And I think some maybe do, but I think the difference is like when we put it on ourselves, people put on themselves to think like it's your job to change that person. Or even one step like further, you somehow think that you have the magic in your pocket to change someone. Like you can just change someone's mind. Like
Yeah, and my mindset was like, if I just be there for this person and show them love that I'm here, that it'll just happen. But
yeah.
lesson learned, no, you have to. And I think that's why dating now is like such a different experience because if I pick up on a red flag, and some red flags are deal breakers, and they'll show you very early on if you are paying attention.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you catch that, you just end it there. Just like, you know what? You're a great person. This is just not working for me.
Yeah.
So,
But I
yeah,
think I think sometimes the like I was watching this movie the other day. And it was a very, very common thing that happens, the scene. It's like a couple, a very good looking couple. I think in the movie they're models. They're at dinner
uh-huh,
and the bill comes and she's doing her makeup, ignoring the bill, expecting him to pick up the check. And he's looking at it from a place of you can tell, like, I always have to pay. And, I think he also doesn't have that much money either. And so he's a little irritated by it. And she just makes a comment like, thanks for picking the bill, and he hasn't even like touched it yet. She's just not even paying attention, just assuming he's going to pay for her. And so then he brings us up to her and says like, how come you just said that? Or last night when we went out you said you'd pick up the bill tomorrow and you didn't today. And she thinks it's about money, money, money. And he's like, no, it's about these expectations. Like I don't want to be in this traditional relationship with you. I want both of us to take care of each other, but I don't want, because I'm the man, I have to always pay for everything. So they're having this argument and she just can't be honest about, she did something very interesting where she made a scene and was like, well, you want me to pay? Fine. And then she pretended to pay. Her credit card didn't work, but she had cash. And
uh-huh,
she had cash that she brought out. And when her credit card wouldn't work, he's like to the waiter, just go pay. Like, take my credit card. Fuck it. I'll pay for it. And then he
right,
watched her put the $50 she had back in her purse. So then
uh-huh,
he's like, how come you didn't offer to split that with me?
right,
Why did you do that? And she just kept getting mad. And what was cool was that he's like, I'm just trying to talk to you. I'm asking you. I'm trying to learn about you. I'm just asking you because something rubbed me the wrong way. And I just want you to be honest with me. Like, what was that about? And then she finally was able to come out and say, I'm very good at manipulating people. Like, I never have to pay a bill. I can get people to do these things. Like, you know what I mean? And Carrie and I were talking about it. And I'm like, what I liked about this scene in this movie, it was that it's just like when people find observations or things about us and we know they're true, we respond with deflection and an argument and a fight. And when we read into it, sometimes we learn something about us, like, oh, this is maybe something about me that I don't like, I want to work on, or it's interesting that I do those things. And I just thought that was interesting, kind of like what you're saying is like this thing where you can't talk about the things. It's done. That's the way it is. Like, we're going to fight about it versus where does that come from for you where you have that expectation?
Well, good for her for like letting him.
I know. It was so cute because he was like, I love you so much and I want this to work. I want us to talk about real things, not just fake things. I don't want to pretend with you. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah. And to just say that, and like she could have just hid that.
That's
but
just
she was
it. Yeah.
So it's his, like, then he has to decide if it's a red flag for him or not.
Yeah.
To one person it might be, another person it's not, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
but I think the difference is coming out and saying it. Like sometimes when we are in relationships, and what I'm hearing from you too is like you're expecting someone to change in a certain way, and that's not happening. But it's like, is that conversation happening? You know, like, are we talking about, I noticed this thing about you? Because sometimes we also don't even want to bring it up.
Yeah, really. It's not easy. And it's like everyone communicates differently, right?
Well, yeah, 100%.
So some person wants to talk right now and the other person shuts down completely. And then there's communication breakdown. Yeah, it's an important one that I've learned for sure that
yeah. And maybe just to throw one other one out there about communication, I think, is learning what is my communication style. Like, if I'm loved and having a day where I feel connection and support, what does that look like for me? A good loving day is when I feel validated, when I feel safe, when I can talk to my partner about these things, about my qualities about me that I don't like. And I think sometimes we don't know, again, back to the beginning of the conversation, we don't know what we want. And then we get our fighting or upset with something versus how would being loved, like what would, like we used to have young people that have experienced trauma come to the center I talk about sometimes where I worked at. And sometimes the kids have had severe attachment issues based on the abuse experience in the first few years. And these are now teenagers who are already going through, teenage years are hard. So they're already going through a hard time, but they don't have the social skills and the emotional intelligence to be able to deal with these hard feelings. But they used to sometimes come and complain and tell me about stuff that would bother them and stuff they didn't like or feel comfortable with. And we used to talk about these sorts of things together about, okay, so and so is not a good staff to be around. I don't like them when they're on shift and kind of going on that. And so sometimes it was like about helping the kids be, okay, if the staff was giving you what you needed, what would that look like? And sometimes like it's a door opener because I know what I don't want. Right. And I know that I'm mad. And sometimes it's a helpful way of realizing it has nothing to do with you. It doesn't matter what you do, or if you fire all the people and new staff come on. It actually has to do with the fact that I've never known how to trust people. No one's ever taught me that. So, right? There's all these other reasons why. And so I think sometimes we have to figure out what our communication style is.
Yeah, I found it interesting that book, The Love Languages, that author wrote a book about teenagers' love languages, right?
Yes.
So I had gotten one of my nephews to do the quiz to find out what his love language is. And so his parents, my brother, they used to be like, oh, this guy just always wants to be with his friend. Then I got curious, do this quiz. Let's see what your love language is. Because that author, his whole point is that when you're in a relationship and we don't know each other's love languages, one can be speaking English, another person speaking Chinese. How are you supposed to understand?
Yeah.
So he did the quiz. He found out that his love language is quality time.
Mm.
So it made so much more sense to his parents and to him why he loved being around his friends, because he liked quality time with people he cared about.
Right, yeah.
I just find the whole attachment and communication style so interesting, because if we could figure that out about ourselves and then figure out what our partner's style is, could be smoother.
Well, for sure. Definitely if we can figure out for ourselves. And I think that's what these conversations are meant to do, is open these doors and invite us to be curious and learn about ourselves. Why is it that I get really angry about that one topic? Why is it that I really feel safe and comfortable when that person spends time with me? You know, like just wondering why the good things are happening. What am I getting out of that? And how can that happen more? And the things that bother me, what is that about? So that I can be curious about and maybe we figure out, oh, that it's because I need validation and I'm not getting that. Okay, I can't believe it. Our time is coming to an end. We can talk and talk and talk. Also, like, so many notes from this conversation, so we can come back and talk again. So I'm hoping that you will be back again.
Oh, I love these conversations. It's interesting. Our first conversation was really heavy, like the first session we did. And this was so fun and so light. I mean, we did have some fun moments on the other side, but I've learned so much from you, like with you sharing what lessons you've learned in life so far.
Yeah.
I found it so interesting that we had different, like we had one the same.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot from you and had so much fun. Like this was great.
It was really cool. I'm really happy that you recommended that we do this and come back and see what we come up with. And I think you say it best is when we are present, like you talked about, and in the moment and having this conversation with each other, we get to learn so much. And we've had over 20,000 years of friendship. And, you know, we said this last time, we say this every time we sit down together, we learn new things about each other. And I likewise, it was interesting hearing some of the things you said. And I was like, oh, yeah. And I think that's the thing. If we don't talk, or, you know, that false notion of I don't have enough to offer, if we live life that way, we miss out on these kinds of conversations that somebody can take. You know, like, how many years am I walking around with present time consciousness? Like these things that I forever hold close because of our conversations together, right? So I always appreciate when we get together how you role model vulnerability and how you listen. That's like a really nice skill you have, and not everyone does have it.
Well, thank you too. You always listen to me too, and you've never judged me. Like you have
to your face, but
you haven't judged me that I know of. But don't forget, your neighbors love me more than you.
God, though.
So
Meena, when's Meena coming? When Meena. I'm here. Who knows when Meena's coming here?
Right.
You know.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so call to action. I'm gonna one more thing I'm gonna take from you before we hang up. What is something that you hope people that listen today will focus on? You shared a lot of good feedback, a lot of good life lessons. What's the one that you hope people will take and consider?
The main one, I would say, taking care of yourself first, and taking care of your physical and mental health, because if you are a father, a mother, could be a daughter or son, taking care of like elderly parents, just it's not selfish of you to take care of yourself first, then put other people after that. Especially as women, right? Like we're caretakers by nature. And just take a moment. Someone asks something of you, you're feeling overwhelmed, take a moment before you respond. It's simple as that.
Take a moment. That's a good one. Okay, well, this is where we get to part. So I want to thank you again for everything that you have supported this passion project along the way with, coming on, listening, letting me talk to you about the milestones and the great things that are happening, you know, and then coming back again. So I really, really appreciate it. The podcast appreciates you. I know our listeners do. So thank you. And I'm very much looking forward to coming back in November and spending a week at your house again.
I'm so excited. That's coming up really quick.
Really quick. So you better start getting like my pillow gift and all that ready.
It's already in the process, and super excited to see the boys. But no, I thank you as well for having me on. Thank you for, like I said, listening without judgment. And I've had a great time today.
Yeah, me too. Thank you. Feel the same way. Love you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love you too.